So welcome everyone to the launch of Narrative for Ireland's 2020 annual report. My name is James Lawler and I'm the Regional Director of Narrative for Ireland.
Hello, my name is Rachel Gannan and I am the Programme Officer for Narrative for Ireland. So we all know that this has been like no ordinary year. The impact of COVID-19 has been felt by all organisations and services. Particularly, it has been difficult for schools, teachers, students and youth services. We had to learn how to stay together while being apart. What became apparent through a series of lockdowns was the power of social connection and the transformative impacts of acts of empathy.
As you know, our work is all about making the world a kinder, more empathic place by using evidence-based methods. Anyone that has experienced the story exchange knows that by listening to each other's stories, we can break down the walls that separate us into different cultures, ethnicities, races, classes, and nationalities. And in a world beset by COVID-19, the work of Narrative 4 and the story exchange has never been so important. In their guidelines issued to schools on reopening in September 2020, the National Education Psychology Service, NEPS, also highlighted the transformative power of stories in helping young people acclimatise after COVID-19. Quote, they said that stories can shape our future, with research showing that telling stories of struggles that turn out well can give young people the hope they need to live productive lives in the aftermath of major life challenges, unquote. And we saw significant demand for our training from teachers this year. And we responded to this demand by launching a new online training course and building a new website, narrative4.ie. And this contains a digital facilitator toolkit for our teachers and youth workers who have done the training. So as a consequence, our reach has expanded significantly in the last 12 months. We have trained 178 post-primary school teachers from 120 different schools across 25 counties. We've also trained 124 youth workers from 47 different youth organisations.
An example of some of the work we've seen in the last 12 months from our Thriving Facilitator Network includes youth workers from Gashga bringing the story exchange into Mountjoy Prison and running the programme to break down barriers between university students and prisoners. Each set of participants earned their Gashga Award while taking part in the programme. Another example is a project funded by the Lorna Burns Children's Foundation, which saw story exchanges ran weekly in Thomond College and Coláiste Huron Croom from September until March. So in this, 423 students got to take part in the programme. So these are just some examples of our story exchange programmes, and you can read about more of these projects in the annual report.
And we'll show you the annual report online just in a few moments. But first, it's my pleasure to introduce Colm Mac-An-Umbra, who will formally launch our report. Colm, as everyone knows, is a member of the Frames and is also a solo artist. He has released 3 solo albums, all of which have been critically acclaimed. His latest album is The River Holds Its Breath, which was released in 2019. Colm also works on film scores as a composer, and most recently he was commissioned by the GAA to create a piece of music to mark the centenary of the Bloody Sunday atrocity in Croke Park. Colm is also a member of the Narrative 4 board, and we're delighted that he accepted our invitation to launch our report tonight. Good, Colm.
Thanks, James, and thanks, Rachel. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here and a great honour to be asked to launch the report, and I commend everybody involved on the great work that you've been doing. I'm struck by the quote from Gabor Mate, the author and teacher, when he was talking about addiction, which is one of his specialties, and trauma. He was talking about that people often think that the opposite of addiction is sobriety, but he said that the opposite of addiction is connection. And I thought that's a really profound statement, and I think connection is kind of what is essential about story exchange, and is it's what we all, as humans, what we all yearn for, and what makes our lives meaningful is the sense of connection and meeting people and connecting. And it's we discover ourselves through the people that we know, in a way. Just, I haven't had that much chance to read through the report, but all of the work is incredible, and I know that you've been very adept at adjusting to the new normal with working online and everything, and it's very heartened to see mention of working with the traveller communities and the Roma people in Ireland, which are part of I suppose they would be the most marginalised communities in Ireland, at a time when I think many leaders around the world are there seems to be a movement to pull the ladders up. It's really important that we keep on connecting with people less fortunate than ourselves, and to a hand up instead of a handout. So I won't waffle on any longer, and what I'll do is I'll launch the ship with a bottle of champagne, and a musical champagne. This is a piece of music that I wrote in the Holy Land this time last year, or maybe November 2019. We went over with Narrative 4 to Israel and to Palestine, and it was actually one of the most memorable journeys and outings of my life. A profound place, and so many profound people and experiences we had there. So this is a piece inspired by Column's novel A Paragon, and by Rami and Bassam, those amazing men at the heart of the novel. And part of it arrived in Ramleh, where I was there with Lee, who's here, and he'll be interested. He'll recognize where I'm coming from. And then another part of it in Nablus, the rhythmic part in Nablus, which is a dobka, a Palestinian dobka rhythm, which I learned that day under pressure. So this is called The Minbar of Saladin. Gormagov.
Thank you very much, Colm. That was really beautiful. We have two very special guest speakers tonight who are going to say a few brief words. The first person that I'm delighted to introduce is Ruth Gilligan. Ruth is a fantastic ambassador for Narrative 4 and has been involved with Narrative 4 Ireland since the beginning. She has published 5 books to date and was the youngest person ever to top the Irish bestseller list. Her most recent book, The Butchers, was published in March 2020. So over to you, Ruth.
Thank you so much, Rachel, and just thank you so much for having me. It's just always a joy to connect with you guys and to just keep on top of all the amazing things that you're doing. So, you know, as Rachel said, I've been involved in Narrative 4 for a while now. It was 2014 when I first heard about the organization and got in touch just to see if there was anything I could do or if I could learn more about what I'd heard. And they invited me along to watch, to observe a story exchange. And it was taking place up in Belfast, and it was between students from a girls' Protestant school and a girls' Catholic school. And I'd heard about the story exchange and thought it sounded great on paper. And then I watched it happen, and I saw the magic of what went on in that room in City Hall in Belfast. And the way that those girls interacted with one another when they first arrived that day and the way they were interacting with one another by the end of that day, it was profound. It was really remarkable. And I knew from that moment onwards that I needed to be involved, and I wanted to be involved because this was seriously life-changing stuff. So since then, you know, I trained as a facilitator and then as a master practitioner. I'm actually based over in the UK, so I've been doing story exchanges here and also helping out with projects in Ireland and sometimes bringing the two together. So bringing together students from the UK and Ireland. And it's just honestly been a joy to watch Narrative 4 Ireland grow and grow. Every time I talk to James or Rachel, there's just a billion new projects underway, and reading through the annual report, it's kind of overwhelming. And listening to Colm play there, you know, it was obviously beautiful. It was tinged a little bit with sadness. I remember this time last year when we all gathered together in Limerick to mark another great year of Narrative 4 Ireland, and I had the pleasure of reading while Colm played in the background, which is, you know, a highlight of any author's life. And in many ways, that evening feels like an absolute lifetime ago because of everything that's happened in between. And yet, you know, it just struck me that while many of us has just been trying to get through this year as best we can, the stuff that you guys have been doing and the amount you've managed to achieve in 2020 is kind of remarkable. So I just want to wish you a massive congrats on everything you've achieved this year. And I can honestly say I'm prouder than ever to be part of this organization. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Ruth. Next, I'm really delighted to introduce Colm McCann. Colm is one of the reasons that Narrative 4 exists in Ireland. He founded the organisation with Lisa Consiglio and other artists in 2012. He's a best-selling and critically acclaimed author, and his latest book, A Paragon, was published in 2020. It tells the story of two fathers, an Israeli and a Palestinian, who both lost their daughters in the conflict. Colm is also the chairperson of Narrative 4 Ireland, and I am delighted to welcome him here this evening. So over to you, Colm.
Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, James. Thank you, Caoimhe. Thank you, everyone there in Ireland for allowing us to get together in this remarkable way. I look at the annual report and I feel immensely proud, especially in a year where everything seemed to have been torn asunder. And we regrouped. And due to the hard work with you and Rory and others who worked really, really, really hard, we have this incredible sense that we are now emergent in the most extraordinary way. Colm Mochan talks about not pulling the ladders up, and that's one thing that we didn't do. We didn't come indoors. We didn't put a GPS system on our imaginations. We decided to embrace the moment and to push out further and further and further. And it's evidence in everything that you have here in the annual report. The work with the travelers, almost 200 teachers being trained, 125 youth workers, 18,000 young people exchanging stories, girls' stories, community engagement, events, stuff online. And so I have a number of people that I really want to say thank you to, but really at the heart of all this, I also want to say thank you to the teachers who are out there, the teachers who have engaged with us, and the students who have put their faith in the idea that stories can change the world. And all of this without action is no good. The action on the ground is where it actually matters. And that's why I'm amazed by the directions in which we're going. My sincere thanks to our board members, Vicky Nash, Susie Lopez, Bill Shipsey, and Colin Muckanumra. We get together. We try to guide the ship in certain ways, but we're honoured really by the staff that we have. We're honoured also by the people who look after us. And a couple of thanks, Susie Lopez, for your generosity. It's amazing that you allow this to happen for us, for JP McManus and Noreen McManus and Jerry Boland and Loretta Brennan Glucksman and everyone in the Benevolent Fund. There's so many people to thank. You will see in this in this report, we've put together a list of all the extraordinary people who have allowed us this great moment. And I'll just go back to this principle of emergence. We've been working for a long time, and our goal in Narrative 4 is to be in every school in the world eventually. That's quite an extraordinary goal, but why not? And it seems to me that what's beautiful about all of this is that we gather all the forces together. It's random, it's crowdsourced, it's self-correcting, and it's almost like a flock of birds, and that gains its intelligence from every single part of the moving flock. So from wing to beak to air current to whatever ground and territory we're going over, Narrative 4 is emerging in a truly extraordinary way. So it has been a tough year. I can't wait to get back. I can't wait to hear Ruth read again. I can't wait to hear Colin, play again. And we will be back this time next year for certain. And we will have a new annual report for you and even better things that are going on. I am deeply honored that everybody pulled all this together and in the face of all available evidence, we made something enormously strong. So thank you all to everybody.
Thank you, Colm, as well, for your tireless work. You go above and beyond as a chairperson, volunteering, and always kind of advising and helping us move the organization forward. So thank you for that. So we're coming to the end of our launch here. Before we let you go though, we want to tell you that the report is available on narrative4.ie. And we did this launch last year in person, and if you were here last year in person, you'd have it in your hand and you would be looking at it as we talk. So we were just going to show briefly here up on the screen the annual report, and it documents our programs, our trainings, some of the testimonials from the young people, our collaborations with organizations such as Creative Ireland and community organizations like South Hill Hub and Learning Hub. Captures our numbers and our different projects, such as the Girls Stories Project, which is a project we run here weekly with migrant teenage girls. It's facilitated by Sheila Richardson. And essentially it's a way to thank our facilitator network, like those teachers that take time out of their own busy schedules to do the training and to run the projects in the schools. And we can't thank you enough, and for this kind of, for our teachers who do this. It also, as Colin was saying there, like this, to run in organizations like this, you need donors, and we have some wonderful donors, donors like Rethink Ireland and JP McManus and Limerick City and County Council, Susie Lopez, and wonderful wonderful youth organisations and youth children's foundations like Lorna Byrne Children's Foundation that fund our work, and it gives us a chance in the report to thank them. So the report is available online. We've shared it. We've shared it on our social media. Please pass it on to people that you think might be interested, or anyone that you think might like to read it, and help us kind of get the word out about the work that we do. So thank you again for coming, and thank you to our board. Thank you to our speakers, Colm and Ruth. I'd like to thank the Narrative for Ireland staff, Rachel and Caoimhe, our intern, Kasia, our support part-time staff that do incredible work, Geraldine Duggan, our bookkeeper, Anne and Michael, and Blake and Michael McRae, our trainers, and Sheila Richardson, our incredible mentors and our facilitators and teachers, and a lot of supporters that have helped us being established now, heading into our 5th year, which is incredible. And hopefully in 2021, at some stage, we can convene a conference and bring everyone together like we did in previous years. That would be kind of my wish for 2021.
So from all of us here at Narrative for Ireland, we want to wish you all a Merry Christmas and a very, very Happy New Year. And to play us out, we have Colm Mac an Umra.
Thanks, Rachel. Thanks, James. Thanks, Caoimhe. Thanks, Kasia. So I'd like to play this as an early wedding gift for Rachel, who's getting married soon. Well done, Rachel. I hope he's a good fella you caught. This is called The Finish Line, and it'll have a little sprinkle of tinsel on it.